Hello and welcome back to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. I'm your host, Hilmarie Hutchison, and today's guest is someone who knows firsthand that the journey from idea to impact begins with belief, and often a bold leap into the unknown. Peter Goodwin is the CEO and founder of Ideal, a platform designed to help anyone, anywhere, bring their ideas to life with the right structure, tools, and funding. Peter is using his background in innovation and leadership to build tech that empowers entrepreneurs, change makers, and dreamers alike. Peter, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Hilmarie. Great to be here.
Let's start at the beginning of your journey. Can you share a bit about your background and how you ended up here in the UAE?
So I'm British, originally from the UK. I came over to the UAE about 13 years ago. My journey fundamentally has been in the fine art industry. So I'm working in fine art, 21 years old, and I've been in the industry now for 22 years, which gives away my age. The foray into the Middle East really came from an opportunity to run art galleries here in the Middle East. I had no aspiration to come to Dubai for any reason other than being offered this role. And it's grown into me doing a whole host of different things here in the last 13 years. I'm still in the fine art industry, but I'm really very much more in the entrepreneurial enablement side of things now.
Excellent. So when you first came over, was it with the idea of staying long-term, or was it sort of a short-term idea that you would go back? How did that evolve?
I did not know. I think the fundamentals were I was surprised to be here, and then surprised that I'd kind of looked back and been here 2 or 3 years, had no intention of leaving, could see lots of opportunity in front of me, stayed a couple more years, had no reason to leave, and just continued on. So I'm not really that much of a forward planning kind of person. I think in life, everything that's happened to me has been quite spontaneous. So I tend not to plan too far ahead. But when you've been here as long as this, as I'm sure you're the same, you're not really looking to venture anywhere else when you get comfortable here. I think it's a great place to be.
As you say, it is certainly a comfortable place to be. Before we dig into the business side of things, first of all, I've just got to touch on your 9,000 kilometer cycle trip from the UK to Rwanda, which you did in an amazing 66 days. Tell us about the trip. What was the purpose? Why did you do it? And how was it?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So completely unplanned. Again, obviously the green pill moment that you guys talk about, which I think is fantastic, was really just an email out the blue. So in 2010, a friend of mine who I cycle with, we're part of a large group of friends in the UK, had actually been sucked into a meeting around the 2012 Olympics in London. And he worked in a location northeast of London. He worked for the government there, and they were hosting the Rwandan team. So every single town or village in the UK was hosting a different team, and they had Rwanda. And it had been suggested in a meeting that they raise money, first of all, for the Olympic team, because they needed help, but also to put sports equipment in schools in Rwanda. They don't have sport on the curriculum, so kids have a very low chance of success when it comes to becoming an athlete. So they'd wanted to raise a chunk of money, and the plan was to cycle the distance between the UK and Rwanda on gym bikes. And he put his hand up in the meeting and said, I've got a bunch of friends that cycle. Let's do it for real. I'll talk them into it. Emailed all of us to say, let's cycle 9,000 kilometers. Let's make it a tight target. So it's a bit of a challenge to enable us to raise the money. I was the only guy that said yes in the whole group. Everyone else had their reasons to not do it, not least that it sounded completely nuts. I just responded within 10 minutes and just said yes to it in 2010, and then had 2 years to work out how on earth that was going to happen effectively. So there's a lot more to add to it, but it was really just a spontaneous yes to an email.
I love that. I love that your friend knows you well enough, or at least thinks he does, that he just volunteered you and your cycling buddies to go and take this trip to raise funds, of course, for a very good cause. I mean, for the Rwandan Olympic team, and more importantly, to get sport equipment into the schools. So a fantastic cause, no doubt. Amazing. And I love that in 10 minutes you just agreed, but then you had to think, how am I going to make this work? And you did at the end of the day.
It's a long story, right? But I think fundamentally that one of the secrets to doing anything is to say yes and then work it out. After saying yes, I told a lot of people I was doing it, which put me under quite set up peer pressure to make me do it. And then on the journey itself, I was forced to do it because people were watching me. So it's one of those things where I didn't really have the first clue how I would achieve it. And I had no long history of doing rides to that degree or that level.
So just one more question on the cycle trip that you did. What did that experience teach you about resilience, purpose, and potential?
I think that I've ended up using cycling as a metaphor for life, right? So fundamentally, the most important thing is to keep moving, right? So don't stop. Whatever you do, like stopping is worse than anything else you could possibly do. Stopping or giving up is the worst. And it's going to be hard anyway. And giving up is the worst of the two hards. Moving forward is much better. There were days I could only move forward a small degree. Other days I was flying. And that's a metaphor for life, right? We all feel like that. So don't give up is definitely one of them, and keep moving. Choose your team wisely. I won't go into too much detail, but our team fractured halfway through and we hadn't really qualified each other well enough before we started. So that's important. I've got to say that the one lesson that really stood out was the people I met on the road. And when you're on a bike, right, a bicycle, you're exposed to everything, everyone, all the time. If you're not a social person, you need to become one, right? Because everyone wants to talk to you. So, because they can't work out what you're doing with a crazy bike loaded with gear. And I should say as well, by the way, we were self-supported. We had no help at all. Everything we had was on our bikes. And I just really found out all people are the same. People are inherently good. They inherently want to help you. If you ask for help, there was not one person who turned me down. And they didn't have to help me as I kind of passed through country by country. And I found the happiest people I met were the ones who had the least. The happiest people I met weren't in Europe, they were in Africa. It was really heartwarming and eye-opening, the people I met.
Amazing. I love that you use that as a metaphor for life, to just keep moving. Even if it's just a little bit, don't stop. I love that. And as you say, to choose your team wisely, I think that goes without saying. It makes a huge impact. But also that people are inherently good. I love that. I think that's a good takeaway. Fantastic. Let's shift gears and talk about Ideal. First, tell us about the name and then explain a little bit to our audience what the platform does and what it's all about.
So Ideal stands for Ideal Lives. And the reason for its existence is, I guess, it was born out of two things. One, my entire career has been either working for founders. So at 21, when I started in the art world, I worked for a founder who had never been in the art industry. He had an idea. He wanted to change the way that people bought art on the high street in the UK. That was amazing. I watched him build it from inception to go live to running the business. Done that my entire life now. My entire career has fundamentally been working for founders or founding my own thing. I know what it takes to take something from spark all the way through to actually getting it live, and have experienced it. And it's incredibly tough to do. It's a very hard uphill struggle. So for me, I felt qualified to really start something like this. But the actual fundamental of this was frustration. About a year ago, I had a list of all these different business ideas that I wanted to get live, and I haven't managed to get them done. You know, there's some 15 businesses. And if I sit here and say that's all I've ever done is start things up and I can't get these things across the line, then there's something wrong. So I started to look for a fast track, a better way to do this. And at the same time, I realized that throughout my life, I've experienced many of my friends and family saying, I've got an idea, and they take it forward and they work on it and they get it to a certain level, and then it kind of drops. Buy a website, or they'll design a logo, or they'll do a business plan, and then it just kind of falls over. And for me, it's like, well, you know, AI is really kicking off now. It's becoming a super useful tool. There must be something out there. There must be a platform that I can use to help me launch this list of ideas. And I just couldn't find it anywhere. And so what we're building is what we're calling a co-founder in your pocket. So the idea is that you have something, it's an app that will help you every single stage to go live with your idea. And it's effectively what a co-founder should be, which is, you know, all knowledgeable, available 24 hours a day, supportive and motivational, fills the gaps that you don't have, your skill set and any gaps in those. And it's something that's almost neutral, doesn't judge you. It supports you and kind of cases around you. It's a puzzle fit with you. Because fundamentally, most people don't have a co-founder. It's a very lonely, isolating place to be. And, you know, you need that support. And then if you get a bad co-founder, and again, I talk about choose your team wisely. I've had co-founders that haven't worked out for me, and they've almost destabilized my business completely. But if you have an excellent co-founder, your chance of success is 10x what it should be. We work on the basis that anyone can be an entrepreneur. I truly believe that. So we're building for anyone with any idea anywhere in the world. These are our kind of staples for this, based on that belief. And we're also in a position where we've worked out that starting up is too hard. People don't run 6 marathons before they run a marathon. That's what starting up has basically been like the last 50 years. We think the advent of AI and our use of Web3 for funding should make it much more straightforward. Not easy, because starting up is hard, but we think it should be easier and more straightforward for anyone to do.
I love how you said everyone can be an entrepreneur, and yet you've said over and over again, starting is difficult. Starting is too hard. You yourself experienced that. You came up against that wall. You were looking for a solution, and then you did what so many successful entrepreneurs do is you couldn't find a solution, so you decided to build it yourself. I absolutely love that, because so many other people, as you said, for the last however many years, simply had the same issue. As you say, people start, then they simply can't get it past a particular stage. Ideal is built on the belief that you don't need permission to start. How has that mindset influenced both your personal life and this venture?
I have a personal, very strong dislike for kind of discrimination, right, to whatever degree. And when I say that, what I mean is the mantra that entrepreneurs are born, not made. So this it actually had a direct correlation with the art industry, where I joined the art industry with no fine art degree, no art experience whatsoever. I had a place at Sandhurst in the military. I was going in the army. That's all I wanted to do. And I just got knocked off course by meeting somebody that taught me into the art industry. And he effectively said, I don't have experience either. So I think we're going to nail this because everyone else has a particular way of doing things. And off the back of that, I realized that I felt like, I was stuck out of water in that situation. And it gave me a distinct advantage, because I looked at things differently and behaved differently and focused more on the people than I did the art. Very successful because we were more about the people. So for me, when people say that you have to be a certain way or certain qualifications to do something, it's completely outrageous, because everybody started somewhere. And I think there's a belief in the art world that artists are born and not made. And it's down to talent. Well, the most successful artists are the ones who work the hardest, who make the most mistakes, and brave enough to put themselves out there and do things with sincerity. And it's the same being an entrepreneur, because to be an entrepreneur is to be creative. You have to be inherently creative, and everyone is born creative. I think Pablo Picasso said this, right? Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist when we grow up. That rings true. I believe every child is an entrepreneur. It's just difficult to remain an entrepreneur as you go through education, and then you start to get boxed in certain areas and told you have to choose a career and stay in one thing. So for me, fundamentally, getting permission is not what people need. People just need to just go, just start, just do things, just be brave. Just don't think about what people say. But people also shouldn't listen to their inner voice. They shouldn't dissuade themselves from starting. That's why we're building what we're building. Honestly, we do believe anyone can be an entrepreneur.
Excellent. And as you mentioned, I read that somewhere as well, that most successful artists are those who created the most. It simply comes down to hard work, trying, making mistakes, failing, trying again. Then you can realize success. But it is about just simply putting in the hours, the hard work, and the effort. You mentioned also quite often people have ideas, they start out with it, they create the website, the logo, and then it doesn't go anywhere. But so many ideas never make it past the concept stage. In your experience, what holds people back? And how does Ideal help overcome those barriers?
Okay, so we studied this. I've extensively studied it. If there's one thing, it's a lack of belief. Right, so people don't believe in themselves. They don't believe. When they face a challenge, a hurdle, they've never overcome it. So they don't know how to, and they don't believe they can do it. It's a lack of belief. And it's also, on the other side of the coin, some particular beliefs people have that aren't true. So one is that their belief that the idea in itself is the key, right? So if you don't have a good idea at the very beginning, then it can't go anywhere. And this eureka moment is not true. Most ideas evolve over time and become something very different by the end of it. So it's okay if the idea at the very beginning isn't the best of the best of the best ideas. Then people believe that one idea is the only idea they're going to have in their lifetime worth pursuing. Completely not true, right? So people are going to have multiple ideas in their lifetime that could be worth something. And then people kind of do two things with that idea. They don't share it because they're scared people are going to judge them on that idea. So they're not welcoming feedback from people. And they're also scared people are going to steal the idea. And so they hide it and don't collaborate or try and work with people. So we kind of see that lack of belief, people, from those dimensions. And then the irony of it is, because people don't believe in it, they don't start acting. And, having the idea is really only 1% of the entire process. For us, things are either done or not done. They move forward or they're not. For us, the entire process is about getting people to move things forward every single day. So it's a daily movement that's absolutely key to making things happen. And the reason things stop is they stall. People just don't go back to it. People don't take the idea forward. We've actually built a matrix that underpins our entire platform, and we called it the prevent matrix. So these are the 7 reasons that prevent people from going live. So the first is psychology. I've essentially already covered. So it's the P of prevent. R is resources. People don't have the money or the resources around them. E being expertise. So people don't have the particular skill set required. And V is vision, not having a laser focus on the one thing they're trying to achieve, and they become too disparate and go across too many areas. E is execution, the inability to get things done, as I've mentioned. N is for network. They don't have the people to call, or they don't have the people to lean on and get knowledge from. And then T is timing. Like, people get their timing wrong. So you can have the first 6, but if you're too early or too late to market, your product or your service can kind of fall through the gaps. So for us, we understand that, and we've built everything that we're trying to do for people as entrepreneurs and get things moving on that prevent matrix. So our co-founder kind of is trying to mitigate all of those effectively.
That sounds excellent. And from the way you're describing things, there's clearly 2 sides to this. There's the human side, there's the psychology and the belief and the way we think about things. And there's obviously the tech side, which was a difficulty, which you are now addressing. How do you balance tech innovation with the human side of support, the motivation, the mindset, and the mentorship?
Yeah, so this is super interesting, right? Because a lot of the people we talk to initially feel like we're a tech company that's out there helping people build tech platforms or kind of tech-specific ideas. There's 2 dimensions here that are essentially completely wrong about those things. One, we're only using technology because it allows us to achieve what we want to achieve. I actually want to sit in the room with every entrepreneur and help each individual person, myself, every day, wake them up, get them moving, motivate them, focus them, give them some knowledge and push them forward. But I can't do that, right? So we are trying our absolute best, and our team, which are very knowledgeable, to build it into this platform. And AI is the only way to build a co-founder for everybody. And then we're dimensionalizing that with Web3 because that's the best way to fund people very quickly across the world. But we can't do that without the human element. So we're training our AI to be more human and focus more on what's essentially a very lonely endeavor. So we need to have our co-founder be humanized in whatever way, shape, or form. But we have a substantially human product as well. We have an entire team that provide what we call a team live service. So we have a solution for people who don't have time, have a great idea, and they have some funds, and our team will execute for them and act as their co-founder. And that's human. That's interaction based to drive things forward. For us as well, we encourage people not just to focus on using the co-founder. We absolutely want people to engage with other humans. And what I've tended to find as a founder is that I can't network while I'm building. It's very hard to do. So we can help people build. We want to create more space for them to go and have face-to-face human interactions because that's incredibly important. And then the other thing for us is ensuring we provide mentors for people. So in time, we're going to have something called the iLuminary scheme, where we match mentors to founders and entrepreneurs. So for us, the human mentor piece is going to be a core component of our system, and people can interact through that and meet up face to face if it's possible for them to do that. So the human component is at least 50% of the way that we want to operate, and we don't want to be of the drag of pulling people more towards their screens and more towards reliance on technology. We're just trying to make it easier and free people up so they can be human. And just to touch on it as well, we're not a tech company helping people build apps or build platforms. We're trying to help anyone with any idea, right? So there are huge real world problems that face humans in interactive states that need to be resolved. People need to start shops, F&B, hotels. There's a whole bunch of things out there that don't require technology or aren't tech-based that need to happen. And so our platform is built for building businesses that IRL in real life, not just tech.
So also, because of the solution that you've built, this platform is taking things off the plate of the entrepreneur. They don't have to spend their time on, so that they can do the things that actually need the human touch. As you mentioned, the networking, there are certain things that you can't replace the entrepreneur. They have to do. And then there are certain things that technology can help them with, but you put all the different parts into play to support the journey from start to finish.
100%. And that's critical for us. It really is. Yeah.
Brass tacks is, money. How important is it that an entrepreneur with an idea has a bucket full of money to get started?
I think it's one of those things that money is oxygen in business. And you know this as much as I do with everything that you've done, right? If you don't have the money, you can't move things forward. But you don't need in this day and age as much money to start and build and conceive something as you used to, certainly to be able to illustrate an idea or get it in front of an audience. So things have improved significantly from that perspective. But people do need some money at given moments. And certainly to scale, they need even more money, right? So funny thing in the world, there's actually not a lack of money, right? The money is there. The challenge is, and this is something that we're facing up to, is how money is allocated and apportioned. If you have my co-founder, Daniel, on here, he would be very particularly focused on the way that venture capital is raised and deployed. He's an expert in that space and has operated there for some time. And it's just fundamentally mismanaged. And, the markers and the reference points for what is going to be a success are completely off kilter. They don't make sense. There's a huge failure rate in that industry when it comes to funding. So I think that there are a lot of people out there who would be very clever with the way they deploy money, and they'd do it in the right way if they were given enough of it at the beginning to start with. And we're thinking very carefully about how we deploy. Having a bucket full of cash is actually very bad for you psychologically, because it creates this sense of security that you perhaps shouldn't have, because humans don't think too far ahead. And one minute they've got the money, the next minute they haven't. So for us, we think people do need the bucket of money, but they need it kind of dripped out the bottom, right? They need some money sequentially at certain points. So the way we're doing our funding is that we are agentically funding people, and we're deploying capital based on proof of work. So because people are using the co-founder, we can see their progress, people the right to their funding as they move through the sequence. As they prove that they have done X, Y, and Z, they can unlock the next stage. So it's almost gamifying it to some degree, but it's the best way to manage having money.
So what I'm hearing you saying is you don't have to come with all the money in your pocket. You've got to come with the idea. You've got to come with some money, get the process started using the platform. The co-founder will help through the process of setting things up. Then you can see, is this a viable idea? Is it going to go further? Then you can then possibly, through the use of the platform, then take it to the next step, find someone who's willing to invest, and then take the idea even further.
Yeah, 100%. And to be clear, we're building that fund ourselves. We're building a decentralized venture capital fund using Web3, and we're raising that money towards the end of this year. And we are going to be funding the best ideas. And we have what's called currently we've just released a fast feasibility product. And this uses AI to assess your idea. And this for us does two things. One, it unfails people at the beginning, because the idea they thought was great maybe isn't so great, and they need to work on it, or they need to have another idea. So they don't just jump straight in with something that isn't going to work out for them long term. But it also allows us to start seeing the people who have the best ideas, the people who apply themselves. And that allows our funding team that will exist in a few months' time to start looking how we agentically deploy capital to these people based on their proof of work and the quality of their idea as well.
I love that. So just about anyone can start. The platform is making it possible for anyone just to even, as you say, figure out, is this going to be a good idea? Is this got some legs to it or not? And that also then puts that idea either to bed, or yes, let's take the next step. Let's move on to the next phase. That's absolutely brilliant. If you're able to, maybe you can share one idea that you've seen go live through Ideal that has truly inspired you.
Yeah, sure. So, and we're a relatively new platform. So we're actually work in progress on a bunch of ideas at the moment that are coming through to us. But yeah, we have a particular idea in the UK with somebody that's come through to us that we're helping with our Team Live product. And it's based around women's football. And this is something we think is going to be massive. So women's football has taken a whole new lease of life in the last 8 years, certainly in the UK. Winning the World Cup does help and does position things. But I think that as a sport is going to be, elevated significantly over the last 10 years. And the person who came up with this idea has a fantastic story and is really, really applying themselves to provide a solution to something that's not only an emerging thing, but it's a huge gap in the market. And our team is helping deliver that at the moment. So that's super exciting for us. And we can't wait to actually announce it when it happens. And then on top of that, we have two other major projects here in the UAE that are based around education that we think are also fantastic, that should see the light of day at some point in the next few months as well.
Fantastic. That's super exciting. I can hear some future podcast guests in that comment.
For sure.
The entrepreneurial journey is full of setbacks. You've mentioned that yourself, that you've experienced that, you've seen your family, you've seen friends go through it. How do you personally stay motivated and keep momentum? As you spoke about the bicycle example, how do you personally keep momentum when things get tough?
There's a lot of people out there who talk about this, right? But you cannot rely on motivation. Motivation is a fleeting, momentary thing, has too many factors. It's not fail-safe at all. So for me, I have trained myself to just do it anyway. And that's because I would say I've spent most of my life pretty stressed and tired and pushing myself into places I shouldn't be half the time. So I'm never really fully motivated to do anything, to be honest with you. So I just do it anyway, do it stressed, do it tired, just regardless. And I might be doing it at a lower capacity, it might take me longer. I just simply get on with it. There's a science around starting, which basically says if you start any task or just open the book, the chance of you finishing the task or reading the book is 80%. Just starting is enough. And then you just fall into it. And whatever you're doing, the task isn't as bad as you thought it was. That's pretty important. Just do it anyway. There's a phrase called eat the frog, right? Which is force yourself to do the thing you least want to do first. So at the beginning of the day, when you've got, in theory, the most energy and you've had your first coffee, open the door to the one thing you don't want to do and try and get that done. And then you can kind of build on it for the rest of the day. That's pretty important. I would also say environment is critical. You can control your environment. So you should make good decisions about that. Invest in a standing desk, pay for good quality hardware that isn't going to let you down. Put yourself in the right environment, I think is very helpful. And then with setbacks, don't believe there's no such thing. There is literally no such thing as a setback. I genuinely believe everything happens for a reason. So if a door closes or something doesn't work out or something breaks or whatever, it was meant to happen. Like it was meant to happen in your journey. You don't know what you are going to get from it, what you're going to learn from it, but you will look back and go, a lot of the time, I'm so happy that didn't work out because now I am here doing this thing instead, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Motivation is not the thing that's going to keep you going. You need to have systems, habits in place where you just start. As you said, I love just to open the book, take the first step, because then you're more likely to finish it. So I think having those habits and systems in place will help you to get there at the end rather than relying on motivation. And I love your positive attitude. There's no such thing as a setback. Everything that happens for a reason. And you look back one day and that forced you to go in a different direction or go in the direction that gets you success in the end. So I love that very positive outlook on life. What is one tip or insight that you can share with prospective entrepreneurs?
So the first one is be brave. When I say be brave, what I mean is you need to do the thing that you believe in. And regardless of outcome. One of my top phrases I say to most people, having been through a number of things, is it doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter. So what you've got to do is take the step that has the risk, that has the unknown in it. You need to jump off the cliff. And the reason for that is because, there's a chance you're going to hit the floor, but there's also a chance you're going to fly. And you're not going to know unless you jump. So bravery is really that step into the unknown. Whatever the outcome is, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect you so badly that you should not have taken the step. And bravery is something you can look back on and say, at least I did it. At least I tried. So you're not going to have regret and bravery. They don't live in the same room. So that's very, very important. The second one is trusting your instincts. Even if you're young and you haven't lived a long life yet, you still have instincts. And instincts come from you having done many things in your life so far, whatever they may be, the learnings you have from people around you, and all the information that you have ingested. And the challenges tend to come up when people don't trust their instincts, when something is telling them to do or not do something. And people's instincts are normally right. And bravery and instincts tend to go together. Because I find if people trust their instinct, They just jump. They don't overthink something and overprocess it. So trusting your instinct, I would say, is very, very important. And then the third one is to be different. So when everyone's going right, you must go left. You have to go where people are not. And the reason for that is because it's much easier to operate in a space where other people are not. And people think there's a limit. They think there's a limit as to how much space there is in the world. And they have FOMO. They see other people doing things and they feel like they have to follow them. And the one thing I've learned is there are no limits. There are no ceilings. There is more space than we could ever occupy in every facet of life. So when everyone goes right, go left, always.
Excellent insights. I absolutely love that. Be brave. So take the step into the unknown. You'll not regret it. Trust your instinct. Don't overthink things and be different. Red ocean versus blue ocean. So go where others are not there already. When people turn right, go left. Excellent insights. What's next for Ideal? Let's start with that. And how can people get involved or bring their ideas to life on the platform?
So the next thing for us, we've launched our kind of first product. We're quite excited about. This is a free, fast feasibility app. So it's on the app stores today. You just search for Ideal. So it's Idea-L and it'll come up. And people can test their ideas for free. So this is a very quick 100 characters or more. Punch it in and you'll get a free report on your idea. The next stage for us is what we're calling a more progressed live feasibility. And that's a full Q&A with our AI. It does the personality assessment, skills assessment, a full idea assessment and your understanding of it and your ability to drive it across the line. So that's our next product coming out in a few weeks' time. And then we're doing a Web3 Gov token raise. So we're pushing that towards the end of the year. And that allows people to become part of our DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. And it actually allows them to help run our company. As part of that process, we'll then start building the co-founder and start raising money for the decentralized VC fund towards the end of this year. And our major co-founder product will then go live early 2026. So we're doing a phased process for the platform itself, for the brand itself, bringing the community in to be part of Ideal. And then we're kind of launching into 2026, hopefully with everything everyone needs to launch their ideas. And we're going to have this fund available as well to support anyone anywhere in the world on a funding level. The getting involved can start today with the app. And then staying in touch with us on our kind of social channels will allow people to see the evolution of that app into something much more substantial over the next few months.
Sounds absolutely amazing. So exciting. So many things happening for Ideal. It's truly amazing. And it's going to help so many people, so many ideas. It's excellent. Now we've come to the segment of our show where I will ask you some rapid fire questions, our version of a game show. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
One word that describes your Rwanda cycling journey.
Epic. Yeah, I felt like I was in a movie.
Fantastic. Coffee, tea, or protein shake?
Coffee. I can't live without it. I'm absolutely addicted.
Ditto on that one. A book or podcast that shifted your thinking?
I'm going to say early days of Joe Rogan podcasts before he became, where he is today. So I kind of connected with what he was trying to do. I think he led an entirely specific and very engaging early segment of podcasting. I very much like listening to his early podcast because it was so unique and so different. Not so much today, I'll be honest, but early Joe Rogan.
Your favorite part of helping someone launch an idea?
It's the bit where they are not confident. It's the bit where they are presenting the idea, but presenting it to us in a way they think they're being judged. And by the end of it, they realize all we're there to do is help them. And that moment of them feeling supported is the only reason I exist. It's the one thing I love.
It's so palpable, the change. You can just see it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
What is one thing you do every day, no matter how busy you get?
Push-ups.
Push-ups.
Because I can do it anywhere. And I know if I don't do it, I'm not really helping my body. And I've done it since I was young. It's almost a mantra that I do every single morning. And if I can't do that, I feel like I'm at the end of my life. It's like a test. It's like a benchmarking test every day.
Well, thank you for playing along. That was easy enough. Now I would like to ask you our signature green pill question. Could you share an inspiring or life-changing experience that you have gone through, your green pill moment?
Yeah, so for sure it has to be that ride. And I guess the moment was the response where I said I was going to do it. I guess I also had these like mini green pill moments as I went through that journey. There were things I just learned every single day, every single week about myself that was so significant. And I've got to tell you, if there's any way to double up on that green pill moment, it's like if the journey started when I said yes, I learned a significant lesson at the very end of the journey when I woke up in the morning on day 67 and I didn't have to ride anymore. I was done. And I've never felt more depressed. It was so bizarre because I realized what everyone had told me that had lived, for a substantial life. It's not getting there. It's the journey that matters. And, I almost had this second green pill moment at the very end of the journey when I had the realization that I had nothing to do. And in fact, the journey, what I was living for, and that the destination was inconsequential compared to the actual journey itself. So yeah, I kind of had a double green pill on that one.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your journey with us. Your story from cycling across continents to support an Olympic team and schools and to building a platform that empowers dreamers reminds us that belief backed by structure can truly move the world forward. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners connect with you or get started on Ideal?
Yeah, so the easy way to do it is to jump to our website, which is idea-l.com. So that has everything you need to know about us on there, including the app download links. And then we have a strong community on our Discord channel for the upcoming GovToken launch. So you can find that on our website as well. And then we're also prevalent on X, Instagram, a number of other obvious platforms. If you just search for idea-l, you'll find us. And we look forward to engaging with you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Matrix Green Pill podcast. If you were inspired by this episode, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We always appreciate your support. Until next time, be brave, trust your instincts, and be different.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.